welcome back to the Gemara in Bava Kama, Daf Zayin Amud Aleph, starting from the two dots where we left off last time. You'll remember, hopefully, that the conversation is about the meaning of Meitav Sadehu. We just finished up with this machloket between Rabbi Yishmael and Rabbi Akiva about what exactly that means, and now we have a new discussion, a new machloket about what it means. Rami le Abaye le Rava. Abaye puts out a challenges Rava. K'tiv Meitav Sadehu Meitav Karbo Yishalem. The pasuk says Meitav Sadehu Meitav Karbo Yishalem, that you have to pay from the best of your field and the best of your vineyard. Meitav in Midiach Rine Lo. So it sounds like you can pay from the best of your field, best of your vineyard, but Midiach Rina, a different thing, not, right? It sounds like you don't have a choice. You have to pay from the best of your land. The Hatanya, but doesn't it teach in a Braita? Shmor Chafal Flamadal teaches us the word yashiv. Lerabot shaveh kesef, ve'afilo subin. And this word comes to include things that are worth money, even grains, even barley. So to make sense of this, you would really need to see the pasuk. I think I would need to see the pasuk. Since I'm clicked into this source already, I'm going to click on connections and give Safaria the chance to give me the relevant pasuk or psukim. So now I can see that I have these psukim. Oops. We're going to focus on this one, the one where someone else's land was damaged. So Biarba said about Meitav Sadehu Meitav Karbo Yishalem, that the person has to pay the best of the field, the best of their vineyard. But then in this pasuk, you can see now that it's elsewhere in Shemot, but relevant as well to damages. Baal Habor Yishalem Kesef Yashiv LeBaalav V'Hamet Yelo. You pay money to the owner. So which is it? Is it money, Kesef Yashiv, or is it only the field? So this is the challenge that Abai is presenting. We have one pasuk where it sounds like it's only the best of the land, and we have another pasuk where it sounds like, well, maybe you can pay anything that's worth money, even if that thing is a sack of grain. Lo kasha. Oh, I'm going to stop and put this in as a challenge. This whole thing is really a challenge, and of course, these are psukim. Quotes from psukim, I should say. Lo kasha. Nope, this is not actually a problem. Kan midato, kan bal korcho. Here it's a case where it is midato, where it's of his own free will, and here it's a case where it's against his will. In other words, and this is presumably Rava's response to the challenge that comes from Abaye, there is a difference between when the owner or the injurer is forced to pay and when the injurer pays of their own free will. This is a distinction we haven't really discussed before, but if the injurer gets taken to Beit Din, he's being pushed to pay, he's being forced to pay. So in that case, he doesn't really have a choice, and he has to pay from the best of his land. But if it's midza'ato, if the injurer is paying of her own free will, then we say, she can work out a deal with the injured and pay something even that's worth money, pay something else. So I'm going to say that this is the resolution or the answer to the challenge. Amar Ula Berei de Rav Eli, Dekanami Dichtiv. So Ula says there's also a proof from the pasuk. Dekanami means the pasuk is exact in its words. As it says, Yishalem, it says the word Yishalem. That's what it says in the pasuk, that you have to pay. And the implication of that is Baal Korcho. You have to pay against your will. In other words, Ula says, I'm going to put this in purple as a support for the resolution. Ula says, yeah, that's really how the pasuk sounds. The pasuk really sounds like Yishalem means you're forced to pay, so you're only forced to pay from the best of your land if you're in a situation where you're being forced to pay, as opposed to you agreed to pay without ever having to go to Beit Din, which, as I said, is not a distinction we discussed before. Sort of interesting to think about that there is this possibility that you might not go to court because maybe the person you injured, you feel bad about it and you're just going to work out a deal with them and you're never going to have to go to Beit Din. Amar le Abaye, mi ktiv yeshulam, yishalem ktiv, mida'ato mashma. So Abaye says in response to this, mi ktiv, does it say yeshulam? Question mark, exclamation point. Yishalem ktiv. It says yishalem, mida'ato mashma. And that sounds like it's mida'ato, of the person's own free will. In other words, Abaye objects to this support. Abaye says that's really not a very good reading of the pasuk. The pasuk doesn't say you have to be forced to pay, yeshulam, that would be like the passive voice. The pasuk just says you pay, and that sounds like it's of your own free will. So I want this as a challenge or an objection or a rejection. This is going up against what Ula said. Abaye is maintaining, no, you really haven't solved the challenge that I put out. Ella Amar Abaye. Rather, Abaye says, so Abaye is actually going to solve his own problem, his own kasha that he raised. Kidamar. It's like that which the master said. And the master, as you can see from reading Rashi, or you could just know, for Abaye is Abaye's teacher, Rabba. Not Rava, but Rabba with a hey. Ditanya, as we learned in a Braita. Haresha hayul batim sadot v'kremim. Ve'ino motzel mochran. You have a person who has houses and fields and vineyards, lots of property, but can't find a buyer for any of this property. This person lacks liquid assets. They have no money. They have no money they can use to actually buy anything because no one wants to buy or pay money for any of their property. Ma'achilinoto ma'aserani ad mechta. You can pay this person, you can give this person money from ma'aser ani, from the poor tax. In other words, basically this person can go on tzedakah, even though they have tons of wealth, they have tons of assets, but they have no money to actually buy anything or feed their family. We can give them tzedakah up to half the worth of their property. So I'm going to say that this whole thing is going to be an answer from Abaye. It's a response or an answer, but obviously this is a Braita. Oops, I wanted to actually, okay, I'll keep that red for now. I meant to highlight it red, but that's okay. The Heve Bamar, and the master, again, Rabba in this case, attacked this Braita or discussed this Braita. It sort of had a discussion about it. Hichidami. What's the case? What are we talking about? Ihu zal arata dechule alma, v'dide nami zal behadayu, afilo tuva nami lisfele. Tahazol dechule alma nami. If this is a case where huzal arata dechule alma, everyone's land depreciated, right? Everyone, this is just what happened right now to the market for land. It all depreciated in value. And his, Dide, also went down in value. Afilo tuva nami lisfele, we should give him also more. Tuva is a lot, nami is also. Okay, why only give him up to half the value of his land? His land went down in value, and everyone's land went down in value. In other words, there's a recession. There's a global dip in the market, and so, yeah, sure, he's legit poor, and we should give him from the poor tax and not kind of discriminate. And this is tricky because it's really all part of Abaye's response, but in the conversation that Abaye is recounting, it's kind of a challenge, or it's a question on the Braita. But if I had more flexibility here, if I wanted to take more time to do this, actually maybe what I'll do is I would indent here and say that really this whole piece, starting from Ella, is really its own, it's all going to be part of the response. It all sort of goes in green in its own way. Ella De'okir arata dechloi ama, v'didei iri de'ayel v'nafika zuze zal are. So rather, this must be a case where if this is a case, this could be a case where everyone else's land went up in value. Chule Alma went up in value. Vidide, but his land, since he's going out and looking for money, right? Everyone knows this is a guy who's kind of desperate to sell and wants cash. Zal are, so his land went down in value. But then afilo porta namilo lisfule. So then we shouldn't give him any money, right? It's his own fault. He's not actually poor. And the Ella is an alternative response, but this is just as much a challenge, right? Either way, this case doesn't make a lot of sense. So this is Rabba's going back and forth, right? If it's a case where everybody got poor at the same time, so he's legit poor, and we should give him more than half the value in tzedakah. And if it's a case where it's just him and it's his fault, so maybe we shouldn't give him anything. The Amar Mar, and again, Rabba says, Amar Mar Allah, Rabba says about this, Lo tzricha. No, this is necessary. Biyomei Nisan yikra arata, ubiyomei Tishrei zal arata. This is necessary because in Nisan, in the month of Nisan, all land goes up in value. That's when it's about to be the harvest time. And so that's when people buy land. And so land goes up in value at that time. Uviyome Tishrei zal arata. And in Tishrei, when we're heading into kind of like the fall and things not happening so much with land, that's when land goes down in value. So there's seasonal fluctuations in the value of land. And so what everyone does is they just wait until Nisan, and then they sell. V'hai hoil v'tzarichale zuze zavin kidahashta. And this guy, because he needs money right now, so he wants to sell his land right now. Ad palga orche lamezal, tzvei lav orche lamezal. And land typically depreciates. When land goes down in value at this time of year, it goes down to about half its value. But more than that, it's not the way of the land to go down in value. So in other words, it really all makes sense. Rabbah comes to a place of being able to explain this breita. This breita is talking about somebody who's trying to sell basically at the wrong time of year. So it's not that there's like a recession, it's just that this is the time when everyone's land goes down in value. This poor guy has the misfortune to need to sell now, but we're only going to give him half the value because that's as much as the land depreciates. It doesn't depreciate, it doesn't go down in value more than that. Now we get to the point of all of this. Now we go back to Abaye explaining how this is actually going to resolve his original, right? This whole discussion with Rabbah that he's recounting from his teacher is going to resolve his original kasha, his original problem. V'hachanami gabein zakin, and so too here regarding injuries, which is again our case, what we care about. Dine be'idit. We judge these things with idit, with the best of the land, right? That's the judgment. That's what people have the right to expect. V'i amar le'ihu havli benonit tzfei porta. So you're chayav to pay from the best of the land. But if he says to him, if the injured says to the injurer, Havli, give me okay land, give me more land than you would otherwise. Tzvei porta means a little bit more. In other words, maybe the injury comes out at a time when land values are low. Right? Maybe this injury happens when there's, right, it could happen when land values are high, or it could happen when land values are low. In Tishrei, you're going to have to pay back. If you pay back with Ijit, right, with the best of the land, you're going to have to pay with more of it because it's actually worth less than it is in Nisan. So if the injured says, listen, give me more land of a lower quality because that, will be worth more later on. Amarle, the injurer can say to him, Ishakalt kedin chashakol. if you want to take land, take what you're owed, meaning take from the best of the land. That's really what you're owed. That's all I have to give you. Sorry. Right? Then you have to take it according to its value now. V'ilo shakil kiyokr delakame. And if you don't want to take the best land, then you take according to the future value. In other words, I'm not going to give you more land because it's worth less right now. You can only get according to what the land is ultimately going to be worth at the peak of the market. And I'm not going to give you more land now because it's worth less right now. I will give you the amount of land according to what it will be worth in Nisan when land is worth more. Okay, that is the resolution. I'm going to say this is also green because it's the response, it's the resolution, but to be clear, this is sort of, again, I'm setting it off, right? This whole thing in the middle is Abaye's explanation of this whole Breita and Rabba's issues with it and Rabba's resolution. And then Abaye uses that to resolve the problem that he presented up here at the beginning to resolve this issue with the pasuk, where the pasuk seems to say two different things. So the resolution is that Meitav Sadehu, right, the basic rights of the injured are to get the best of the land. But Yashiv, that word that means it can be just something that's worth money, so they're allowed to work out another deal between them. But again, then it's going to be not necessarily the best of the land, but according to the value of the land when it's at its highest worth. Okay, we'll stop here.